Greetings and salutations, all you fabulous folk here on the Tubes of You, and welcome to another stirring installment of Disinformed After Dark. I'm Shane.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
Sorry, it's forced.
Would
to
you
habit.
stop pouring one out for your homies here?
I'm sorry.
He's abandoned you. You can't expect that you're going to get any love, regardless of the breath you leave his ghost.
I know he'll come back.
Oh, that's what they say.
I believe.
Like Ghost Dad before him.
Oh, no.
He's just getting cigarettes. He'll be back.
Indeed. He hasn't had a cigarette
just
in a
like
while.
My dad. Good on him.
Indeed. It's the other things he's putting in his mouth, I'm afraid of. But in any event, hi, and welcome to all of you. If this is your first time encountering us here, I'm going to firstly explain that we are the hosts of an ever popular podcast, which flees your preferred podcast provider app every single marvelous Monday morning, called the Disinformed Podcast. We talk about random esoteric nonsense and we lie about it. It's very fun. But what we do here is a little decompression from our episode recording and do sort of like companion video casts for the show, specifically for you folks over here on the Tubes of You, because we love exclusivity here.
That we do.
Indeed. And
Forget
so
everyone else. It's just you guys. You are important.
Just you.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Just you, Tube. But we are always here just trying to make sure that we give love and appreciation to those who love and appreciate us. So all three of you. And it's going to be a grand time. But Michael is convinced that this is the key to the algorithm that we have not utilized yet. And so I am here to prove the gypsy wrong. Not supposed to use that word anymore. I'm sorry. It's yet again inappropriate.
That's offensive.
Yes, we're here to prove the Romani wrong. Yes.
Thank you.
Where we're at.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. But mostly what we are here to talk about is threefold. Firstly, that Courtney is much better at TikToks than Michael. That's what we were trying to establish before we started rolling.
That is very true. Very true.
At least according to Michael and myself. But Courtney doesn't like hearing this because it means more work.
Also true.
I'm not work opposed. It's just that app's editing features are infuriating to me because I have fat fingers. And I don't have editing software on a laptop, nor do I have a laptop that could probably run decent editing software.
Also
so
fair, yeah.
You get what you get, guys.
Agreed. And we can safely say on this platform, we hate TikTok. I'm on the record.
Yeah. Fuck TikTok. YouTube is cool. Oh no,
you better
I'm sorry.
Hope we're in that first. If you ever have
no.
aspirations for monetization, friend, you need to
YouTube
curb
gods.
that.
I'm sorry. Forgive me, please. I said a bad word.
I mean, you might as well talk about Amber Heard for 20 minutes now, just to ruin the rest of the episode's monetization principle.
So I have some thoughts.
Oh no! Keep your those are inside thoughts for a reason, Michael.
I'm kidding.
Have some hashtags that we want to avoid out of the gate. Firstly,
I don't think so. We're safe. We're safe.
But Courtney, my apologies. I know the bus is heavy, and I swear someday we're going to stop throwing you under it and try to control our own content. But he's getting there.
I'm learning. It's a long go. It's a long show, but I'm going. I'm trying.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Show and go. And I'm a troglodyte, so I have no contributions to any networks, social or otherwise.
He just learned how computers work, so it's steps.
No, I didn't. My grandchildren come in here and help me to turn on this newfangled device every time we record.
Dang it. Dadgummit.
Actually, it's funny you say that though, because I think your Instagram posts do so much better than mine ever did. So we're all really just playing to our strengths.
I mean, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it versus if a tree fell on top of somebody in the woods, it's not really a notable difference. It's gradients here.
That's an infinite number, infinite percentage of improvement when you go from 0 to 1. So
speaking of which,
true.
I have artwork for the possum episode that fell into a void because my brain was not with me when we hit fan fusion.
That's
And
totally fair.
so I'm going to put it there. It'll be released late in the hopes of I can push more people over there. I'm not sure
There
the
you go.
advertising episode requires artwork, but we'll see.
It has been very fun to go back and listen though, because it's very nostalgic if you've listened to all the first episodes, because I'm like, oh, I remember this clip. Oh, I roasted you guys about this clip.
Yeah. In particular, I like it because it is sort of a weird sojourn through the poor audio quality or the evolution of our professionalism.
Yes.
Because we do run through, like when we were all recording on Michael's single microphone to then when we attempted to start integrating our own, to the point where Michael and John both had them, and I was relegated to using Michael's gaming headset with the world's worst microphone, and I was the one who was doing most of the talking. So I sound like I'm on the other end of like a freeway overpass doing a radio call-in, talking about how terrible the traffic accident is. Like, how's it looking out there, Ollie? Okay, well, back to you.
That's funny. I didn't know that, because when I was listening to the ad episode, I think it's maybe the third ad, sounds like he put a filter over it. Like it sounds like you're talking on the radio. So it's very funny.
Yeah, no, that is me talking into a
headset.
bad headset microphone, and I was doing the Madonna the entire time. I was hands-free, just vibing, voguing. It was a grand old time. So yeah, that was a fun nostalgic sort of wax for me to get through that thing as well. But I'm not sure our audience is going to be as keen on it, but you know, it amused me, so why not?
Do we do this for them or do we do this for us? That's the real question.
We've answered that question many times over. I think
we just do it for Michael.
We're still here.
My ego, it grows.
I think we're just trying to make sure that you continue to, you know, labor under the belief that you will not be working at a pizza shop at some point in the next 10 years.
If that's what keeps me going.
Monetize me, Daddy.
All.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh, YouTube gods.
But on the course of discussing the things that obliterated my mind over the past month, the primary protagonist in that particular story was Phoenix Fan Fusion, which was a delightful, rollicking good time, as it always is. And I was so glad to be able to share the experience with all of you after my prior exploits. So how did everybody enjoy the experience?
If you want to go first, Courtney, by all means.
Or we're back at the panels?
I can go.
Wow.
No, I can go.
Go for it, Michael.
Ask Courtney a question, then don't go back to her. It'll be perfectly on brand.
Being nice because I had edited a previous thing where I tried mansplaining a record that was set, where you were like, "This is the first time that that you guys guessed my lies," and I was like, "Well, technically, I had all my lies guessed," and you're like, "Well, women's accomplishments are important, so that's why I wanted to give it to you to show that I'm not an asshole."
I mean, technically, women's
and then explained why you are an asshole in the process.
God damn it! It's
Michael,
in my nature.
Let me explain to you that women's accomplishments are the only reason that any of us are sitting here right now.
That's true.
Because in order for a human being to be whelped into the world, a woman has to endure immeasurable pain, and then they have to raise you afterward. So I mean, like, indignity squared. It's not a great thing. Not everybody's mother can have the joyful experience that mine has, which having a loving, respectful, intelligent son who will bend over backwards to make sure that everything makes you happy. I'm sorry, Mom. I won't do it again. I swear. Mother?
By the way, I heard about furries, so let me tell you about furries.
My mother is the most delightful human being I've ever met in my life.
I love her.
Yeah. She really fantastic. Is the reason that I behave this way.
She's an amazing woman.
I don't think she wants credit for all of that.
I think she does, actually. Because the things that are normally cringeworthy for everybody else, my mom will slap her leg, be like, "That's my son." As proof, like evidence, there's pictures of me, like the joke is I Homer Simpson her. Like every photograph we take as a family, I'm choking her in at least one of them. They're her favorite pictures.
Oh, so
my son wants to kill me. It's like, well, you know.
Okay, so then I guess I'll start. I really enjoyed just the back and forth To just be in person and having the back and forth for just
Like a
panels in general.
logging, cycle.
Yeah. Like you have the saw, you push it forward, or you pull it, another person pulls it, and it's that teamwork.
So what you're saying is that Dick Halloran died in the book, but he was alive in the movie.
Yeah, it was the Schrodinger's Dick. I think was the joke that we made.
Dick, please come. Yes.
Yeah, where he was alive and dead. But no, the back and forth was just great. I really loved when we were able to build off of each other, everyone included. And that just made it for a lot more of an interesting conversation, instead of like one person saying their bit, pause, another person saying their bit, pause, and etc. Like,
well, conversations are one-way blind when you're on a podcast or a YouTube show, usually, unless your fans comment on the video below.
Ooh, hints, yeah.
Smash things with thumbs. But so, yeah, it is very wonderful to actually have organic interaction with individuals in real time and get to see whether a joke lands or get that sort of actual emotional intercourse with other individuals. Yeah, so I agree with you. It's a lot of fun.
That was like my main thing.
And
well, I mean, it's a fair point, but
a lot of people enjoyed your cosplay, which I still insist is a t-shirt and pair of gloves.
I mean, it was, for all those who didn't know, I played Captain Hammer from Dr.
The
Horrible
Arm and Hammer baking soda ads. Yeah.
Captain Hammer corporate tool from Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. And I had a whole 3 or 4 people acknowledge it, which was 3 or 4 people more than I expected.
Indeed. And you made a great bit out of finding other Dr. Hammers and yelling, "Nice Dr. Hammer" at them.
Yeah. And they were like, "Who the fuck are you?" Oh, wait, never mind. And then they kept walking. So it was perfect.
You really don't want to monetize this show, do you? Because I'm over here trying to keep it PG, and you're just cursing like a longshoreman.
Well, yeah, no, I couldn't keep secrets in war. I'll say that.
You can be had. I know.
I can be had. It is known.
Trustful.
But cloth hunger. To be, succinct, which is something I'm not used to doing.
I'm waiting for it.
That is the thing that I enjoyed the most, was the back.
What was your favorite panel, by the way?
Oh shit, that actually is a good question. I love talking about The Shining, just because I have a lot more of an association with that, being a stepfather.
And you actually finished all the materials associated with that discussion, so.
God damn. I mean,
he's not gonna let that go.
Need to finish?
That was part of the rules.
Yeah. So I'm elephantine both in appearance and memory. So as we've documented, I will not forget this.
I still liked The Shining.
I'm
not
glad.
Because I finished it, but because I feel like I have a lot more of me trying to pursue a degree for 11 years. I feel like a lot more of a kinship with Jack Torrance, in that if I get this one thing, it'll work. If I get this one book published, if I get this one play published, it'll work. And so I kind of felt not necessarily a full kinship, but a kinship all the same.
So this pizza is my path to fame.
Yes. If I just lock myself away for 4 months, then maybe our YouTube channel will get popular. That sort of thing.
I see what you mean. You've got high aspirations.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I do.
You've been published in a series of known periodicals.
I guess.
So how about you, Courtney? You had a good old time?
I had a great time. That was the first con I've ever been to. And so it was very much like sensory overload, in the sense that like I was not a nerd until I met my husband, and then we have grown in nerddom together. So I'm seeing all these people in cosplay and I'm like, oh my God, I know that character. Like, this is so cool. And then also seeing all of the art, I think, is just one of my favorite parts. Is we bought a handful of different like original things, and I thought that was amazing. And I was really surprised by the turnout at our panels. I was like, I don't know if people are going to want to be part of this.
Mhm.
And we had some really genuine interactions. And I think for me, that was like when the mom came up to us and talked to us after one of our panels, like that for me made it.
Mhm.
Like all of the stress going into it, figuring out driving situations, standing in line for an hour and a half, like that one interaction made the whole thing worth it for me.
Yeah.
And I really hope we get to do it again. I thought it was so fun.
Yeah, I know you had a lot of trepidation going into it as well. So kudos to you, because you shine through the entire thing. But I know it was a lot for you to worry about of how you're going to respond to live people. So how was that? I know it was terrifying initially, but did you settle down pretty quickly, or did it take a while for you to get into rhythm?
I think after day one, I think it was easier. I think I felt more confident about The Stand and The Outsider than I did about
Plus,
The Shining.
You'd had the positive interaction at the Shining panel, so
yes. And I think also like I felt like I totally flopped in our live episode because I don't know anything about comic books. So once we kind of got through that, I think going into the next day, I felt really confident. I felt like I wasn't the least articulate on the stage, so that was really helpful.
I mean, sitting next to me, it's not hard.
You know what's so funny about that though, Michael, is I thought that that was the most articulate you have ever been. Like you like came out of this shell and like blossomed like this little flower that you are. And like you were so concise about your opinions that I was like, who is this Michael?
And the sad part is I'm going to be chasing that for the next year.
Yeah. No, Michael and I had that exact exchange as well, where I'd said like, one, I really appreciated the support, but also the investment in actually looking over the research, going over the questions to make sure that you kind of knew what your trajectory was going into a lot of those things, even though occasionally I didn't quite segue into some of the discussions as smoothly as I had anticipated. It's a weird myself. But no, I also, a lot of that is, it's a weird animal to get on top of, because I think I talked about, I was terrified my first 10 minutes going through the Shining panel, because I was like, oh my God, these are long-winded questions. And I didn't think about it until I started saying them. And I'm like, I'm still talking. Just shut up and get to other people's opinions. So I was like trying to reword myself on the fly while talking and reading and assimilating, and then trying to figure out who I was going to talk to and where the questions are going to go. So yeah, that I was kind of in a bit of a panic-stricken state going into that, because I realized I talked a lot in the live episode, and that was somewhat to be expected.
Yeah,
I was presenting, but at the same time, it's another one of those things where we usually crack jokes and go onto tangents and get far off track, and then it was just sort of like everybody was looking at me, was like,
yeah.
Well, I think we were also all very aware of the time crunch of it, having an hour, whereas like when we do an episode that can go for 2 hours sometimes, and then Michael trims it back. But I thought you did a really excellent job across the board at hosting all of them. Like,
thank you.
Would have
very
been like,
concise. Like,
thankfully it's not my first rodeo, so I have run through a lot of these things. But the nice thing about those contexts in particular versus doing just a regular show or anything else like this is, I've described cons in particular as being like the most positive support group that you're ever going to run into, as opposed to like an Alcoholics Anonymous where you're there to share your misery and help people recover. This is, you're actually bringing your fandom to a group of other people who have shared similar experiences and have similar passions, and then you're there to soak up the joy of your experiences and escalate them, if you will. So it's kind of an emotional support group in reverse, because you get to go in and revel in the things that you love and appreciate, and you don't really often get that opportunity. It's kind of like dating in a microcosm, is that like where you're running through your personal Rolodex of things you love and appreciate when you're talking to someone on a first date, like, as I refer to it as, and this is my one break for the episode since Michael's cursed all through it, but I used to describe eye-fucking, where you hand someone your iPod and let them look through the music that you like and the playlists that you have, and kind of like do that weird cross section of, ooh, I like them. Ooh, okay, I listen to Third Eye Blind. Okay, name 5. The fun little bits of saying like, these are my favorite movies. You share your passions with somebody. That's kind of on a grander scale what you're doing when you walk into a con. and the connotation changes. And unfortunately, you have to deal with a lot more nudity than I think you typically expect on a date. But I don't know, maybe that's me. My circumstances and outcomes may vary.
I cosplaying is certainly, especially if you're not prepared for it. Like if you're not prepared for cosplay, and one of the more gratifying parts is, like Courtney already said,
careful
walking through. No, I got it.
Okay, all right.
Gratifying in a wholesome sense.
I mean,
is walking through and being like, I know that reference, I know that cosplay. Like that is honestly one of the more, like I said, gratifying parts of Comic-Con for me, is being able to be like, okay,
nice Dr.
I know
Hammer.
these all yeah, well, yes, Dr. Hammer, but also being like, I remember this anime, I know this reference,
Ooh, My Neighbor Totoro. Yes.
Technically yes, but still no, because I haven't seen any Studio Ghibli stuff.
Okay.
Berate me as you will, but
I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll have to send you some by way of Kiki's delivery service.
Again,
I'm going to make you a list, and then you have to watch them all.
Yeah.
Is the list just going to be all of them because they're all
I'll
good?
put them in a fun order for you.
Perhaps after you watch them, you might be spirited away. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll quit.
Moving on. I get. That's the sad part, is I get the references. I was hoping you'd throw a yes. I was hoping you throw in a Howl's Moving Castle, because
if
that's
I
also
did,
studio.
It's a moving target. It's harder to hit.
That's the reference from it. I'm presuming, but
no, but it's a moving castle. Okay, before we kill ourselves or others,
yes, please.
Yes, you enjoy people, identifying things that you're passionate about out in situ in the wild without feeling like you manifested it on your own. It's like seeing a unicorn just stumble across your path. You're like, oh, it's a literal unicorn. It's the weeping angels from Doctor Who. And look, they're taking photographs with people. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So, always lovely to
it was
find
also
things.
Really... Oh, sorry.
I'm not cutting you off. No, please. I need to stop talking.
I was also really excited and surprised by the number of people in the panels that would speak up during, and just that interaction was so genuine and so fun, and they actually added a lot to the conversation that I think like maybe we hadn't even thought of, and I thought that was great.
That was something that happened in almost every one of my prior panels, so I was somewhat anticipating that was going to be the case, because you really do hit people at home. And one of the things that we were, and this is not gratuitous here, but the things that we were praised for is that we were having a conversation that almost invited other people to take part and share their enthusiasm, because we were not mansplaining, contrary to what Courtney might say. We weren't telling everybody what the story was. We were just talking about the things that we were enthusiastic about and making connections to other things as a, see, also, if you like this, go check this out. Or, you can encounter other similar material in other places. So I feel like that is something that we engender by being there, just because of the nature of the con, but also the way that we were presenting the episodes. But to your point, it's a blast.
Apologies for Winry in the background having an opinion.
It happens frequently, as we document. For those who heard the advertising episode, on the first episode, with like 5 minutes in, we've got, Frankenstein just barking up a storm. So we are often encroached upon by canines.
You just have so many thoughts.
But yeah, so 100%.
And has anybody looked into that book that the gentleman during the stand panel brought up? Because I was curious.
I know Mike did. And
oh, really?
Well, he had encountered it previously. But...
Yes, and when he was a young boy.
Yes, indeed.
Not any more detail than that, but when he was a young boy.
Indeed, when he was a young warthog.
Uh-huh.
But I will do a little homework when my brain has fully returned to me and my faculties are functioning. I will try to track that down at some point.
Oh, gee, wouldn't that be nice?
I will say it was funny waking up on Monday and not doing it, because like going Friday, Saturday, we went Sunday. I got to take Jonah for a little bit. And getting up on Monday was like, well, I got to go. I got to be at the convention center. And I was like, oh, wait, it's over.
It is one of the greatest jobs that you will ever have. Truly, it's something that was delightful. And luckily, like, I had a really interesting opportunity last time where I got dragged into a couple other panels because of individuals that were at our panels. So I took part in another which was hosted by The Horror Show, which also has material here on YouTube. You can go check them out. But they filmed their panel, and I got to have discussion about Stephen King and things that were being brought to film and television from that year, based on Jaime being there for our Stephen King panel. Just random stuff that happens.
That's
and
great.
I have never been more elated in my life than being like, I get to do more of this. And so, yeah, it's an intoxicating feeling to get to be like, I want to go talk to people about things I love. You're an ambassador for fandom. It's glorious. So perhaps we'll be able to do it again in the near future.
Fingers
And we can take this
crossed.
show on the road. We'll go to all of them across the nation.
Okay, well, Michael will start trying to book us based on our very popular YouTube numbers, and get us booked for subsequent cons. So if you are running a fan convention elsewhere, please look us up. We would be more than happy to come and wag our chins at the general public for a small stipend.
We have opinions.
You don't want them. Well, so since we did this for Michael as well, Courtney, what was your favorite panel out of the collective?
I think because I had just really finished the book and the show, I think the stand one was the most fun for me. I felt like that was also, by the time we got to that one, I was like, oh, I can do this.
You're in a rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had really strong opinions about the show and the book. So I think that one was probably the most fun for me. How about you?
Yeah, because we haven't asked you.
Well, I'm of the opinion that it's one of those instances like I don't have a favorite child. Because to me, each of the experiences were so distinct from one another for every single aspect. And to Courtney's point from earlier, like, I really cherished the interactions from each of the individual groups of attendees, because even during the live episode where I actually expected we were just going to have a dead space, like I thought we would be talking to Melissa and our super fan Steven and just be lost, right? Yeah. And so the fact that there were actually people there, and furthermore, people that were ardently enthusiastic about being involved and talking about their experiences with, comics and censorship. And the young lady that came up and chatted with us afterwards about her college experience and studying it and the things that she found fascinating, which I got more information from the audience than I, expected. So to actually have things come back to me was really phenomenal. So each of the panels had something that I will cherish for the rest of my existence, which is part of the joys of those things. I probably felt the most comfortable by the time we got to the stand, but the outsider panel was really fantastic as well in that, because it felt like we had a group of individuals that were really enthusiastic about the material. When we got the Mr. Mercedes head nods from around the room, and people that were also very opinionated and passionate about Holly Gibney and her exploits, much like Courtney, who I didn't let actually share your thoughts. Since we're on that topic, though, yeah, what were some of your impressions of Holly since we're here? We might as well just give.
I hogged the show that whole time.
We had a lot going on, but
no, I thought it flowed really well, and I honestly was not concerned about how much I spoke, especially when I thought everybody was giving opinions that I agreed with. But I think that as far as female leads from King, or even female characters from King, she is by far the most realistic one, and also the best one. She's
extraordinarily unique, which is one of the major selling points.
Because go ahead.
No, do it.
Because the thing for me is, like, when I first started reading King, is I felt like the female characters really lacked a lot. Like, if you look at The Shining, and like, I'm gonna blank on her
Wendy's
name now.
Wendy's
like a shrinking violet, and it's like, I would have loved to know what she was going through as Jack descended, and just more giving her more personality. And even like in Dr. Sleep, like Rose the Hat, like there was some of her motivation and some stuff, but I felt like as a whole, that group could have had more of a highlight on some of the female characters, because at the end of the day, it was just like, I'm just chasing this child. Granted, wow, my knowledge and my names are really coming.
Oh, it's okay. I think you're probably going like Snakebite Andy has a decently fleshed out story, and
right?
You can kind of see her motivations.
Yeah, but I feel like only because he used her as a way to introduce the True Knot.
Yeah, she is kind of the conduit. That brings you in there.
And the little girl, my names
Abra.
are great. Abra, that's
Kadabra.
right.
Alakazam.
I will say, like, she's a great female character, great lead. Not including Conchetta in the movie, I thought was a big miss. And so it seems like, at least from the, I think maybe 6 King books that I've read and the like 2 movies, my feeling is that he doesn't put a lot into his female characters. So for me, Holly was very important in showing, no, there is range, you just have to keep reading.
And it really kind of depends on the story. And there are some instances where they throw in a lot of detail and give you background on a character, and it certainly doesn't make you any more sympathetic to their cause.
Pet Cemetery.
Yeah. Or as I joked, like, I think I one of the most repellent characters in the entirety of King's oeuvre is Fran's mother, as featured in the Stand. Like, absolutely. I actively loathe that character to the point that I'm not mad that she disappears, but it does remove a lot of Fran's motivations as you run through the story. But the reason I bring it up apropos is it's not just me doing this to shill or spend more time talking. It's you need to read Mr. Mercedes.
I know.
The whole trilogy, purely because you see Holly from Genesis to where she winds up by the time you hit the Outsider, and that is a chrysalis opening. Like, she really is a demonstrably different character from when you're first introduced to her in Mr. Mercedes by the time you get through End of Watch and then stumble into the exposure with her in the Outsider, because again, I wasn't really going forward. I met her first in Mr. Mercedes, read through all that, and then just ambled into Mr. Or If It Bleeds, going like, oh, wow, this is a Holly thing. Okay.
I mean, shoot, even comparing to her at the beginning, well, air quotes beginning, her introduction into the Outsider, and then If It Bleeds, she's a drastically different character. So going even further back would just show, like, in my opinion, how much she's changed, because you could tell that she's already on a path to like evolution in regards of her evolving as a character, even in the Outsider. Like they kind of set it up that she was a very not necessarily neurotic, but like she had a lot of faults as a character. And then like even towards the end, when she was the one that dispatched the Outsider, and you could tell even with it but you could tell how much she's evolved just within that one story. And if she has 3 books where she's part of like that, not necessarily the main character but still playing a major part, like I would love to see how she evolved through those series up until the Outsider.
It's great. They document her obsessive personality, which is interesting, but then they do get into more of how she is on the autism spectrum and how that's relative to her. And the smoking is a big factor in that, which is again why throughout If It Bleeds you get the whole I'm not smoking
issue. And
those are her little things. So you really, the first time Bill Hodges meets her, she's sitting on a curb outside of a funeral smoking a cigarette, and they have a very awkward exchange, and he sees that she's somebody who's not gonna organically come out of her shell until he has to kind of force his way in. And one of the things you love is Bill Hodges as a character is fantastic, but makes you relate to Holly in a different way. And she does, there's a lot of King fans who get upset because she says it's poopy and other things that they find to be infantile or silly or stupid. But I am not of that camp.
Yeah, it's part of her character. Yeah.
So, but please go check out the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. I can let you borrow some materials, but I'm sure you can find them at your local library, which is where you should be finding most of your material these days. You can save a lot of money, as Courtney will tell you.
I'm probably tomorrow when I go pick up my 5 holds, I should hit over $1,000 in savings this year.
Whew. Meanwhile, I'm the guy that's all like, I'll support Stephen. I'll Stephen King. I'll buy his next book. I'll buy the next book. Why not? Because I bought The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, and I think 60% of the way through.
That one flies by. It's a pretty short book comparatively.
But going a little bit back to agree with Courtney, actually, I would argue that Trisha is a very good, well-developed female character that Stephen King actually does delve into.
Yeah, she's great. It's one of my favorites. Like I haven't read the book in a long time, but I do love that sort of like mental landscape that she has to exist in, which if you're not familiar, I'm sure it's not a story that comes up routinely. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon is based on a young lady who gets lost in the woods. And essentially all she has with her is her traveling sort of like a radio headset. It's not, is it described as a Walkman? I forget.
It is a Walkman.
So yeah,
it came out in the late 90s. So yes. Yeah, it's a Walkman.
So she's walking and she essentially is only kept company by listening to baseball games, and her favorite pitcher is the gentleman Tom Gordon. And so she uses Tom Gordon as like her sort of spirit companion, and she talks to Tom and envisions him doing things, and he kind of helps fortify her as she's going through and trying to survive through starving out in the middle of the woods and being chased by this weird malicious entity. And it's really cool. It's a fun story. It's a cool concept as well, and it's a book I really loved when I first read it, so much so that I read it when I was 17. I don't think I've read it since, and I still have these lingering recollections of it because it's impactful, because it's been, I hate to say how long. That's 23, 24 years ago that I read that. So it makes an impression.
I wish I had your memory. Jeez.
Well,
I wish I could remember 5 minutes ago.
John's fond of joking that, I don't drink. And haven't really had many altering substances other than sugar. So helps to increase mental clarity to a certain extent. But hey, who knows?
The more you know.
It sounds like Michael and I have to do a book club then for Mr. Mercedes and get through that series.
That's going to be hard for me. I don't like true crime.
No.
The Outsider was I can appreciate it.
Let me disabuse you of the notion, though. It's not going to play the way The Outsider does.
It won't.
So the opening sequence, not to spoil anything, but hey, by the way, we're plugging Mr. Mercedes here for everybody who's now in for an hour and a half long after dark. The point of the story is the genesis of it is there's a bunch of people who are waiting in line at a job fair because unemployment is on the rise in the country at the time. Go figure. And so there's a bunch of people who are just waiting in the cold at 2:00 in the morning, waiting to get in line at a possibility of getting a job interview at this job fair. And in the morning, as folks are waiting in this line, a individual driving a Mercedes careens into the lines of people who are waiting there and kills many.
Oh my God.
And that's the inciting incident of the story. And then Bill Hodges, a private detective, retired police officer, is now investigating who perpetrated this crime. So it doesn't really have that same sort of like police investigatory feel that The Outsider does. It's more of a suspense thriller kind of intrigue than it is a procedural. You just happen to have a police officer who is leading you through, but there's a lot of really cool characters in the story. Jerome is a major character, if you've recalled from If It Bleeds. So that's where you he's Bill Hodges like tech guy, because he doesn't know how to work newfangled devices. So I relate to Bill in a lot of ways. And trust me, it doesn't read that way. If it does and it drives you off, then I will stand corrected, but I don't think you'll feel that way when you start reading it.
Okay, in that case, you know what? Shoot, I caught myself that time. Let's do a book club of it. Let's do it.
It's content, Michael.
Yeah, tasty content.
And
Let's do it.
if you want more tasty content, you can float back in, because I will happily lead a discussion when these two finish that book and series. And so we can dive back in here. And of course, you can find even more juicy content here on the daily, because Michael is an obsessive compulsive, much in the way of Holly Gibney. So you're going to have shorts here ad nauseum that you can find
every day.
Every single day, sometimes multiple times.
At least, no, not sometimes. Every day is at least 3 shorts. So
oh my god.
Just I'll cut this.
As the
but
saying
just
goes,
look at it. Just look
you
at
can't
it.
cut this. We're live, friend.
Oh, fuck
It's
it.
a living.
We'll do it live. But
Okay.
yeah, just we got an absurd amount of shorts for you guys to peruse. Just clips from our recordings. You'll have a fun time. Choose what you like.
Indeed. And of course, we have an absolute swath of material in the back catalog here in the archives. In addition to all of our weekly shows, we have a slew of fan fiction, random discussions after shows like this for After Dark content, in addition to occasional random readings of Amazon reviews, which are some of my favorite contents. If you want to hear me react to sugar-free gummy bears, which we saw some Haribo as we were walking through the airport.
Oh, no.
And both Melissa and I turned to each other and in the same wilting, quavering voice, Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. And had a nice chuckle as she's like, don't eat those. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to defecate on anybody today. So plenty of joy to be had here on the Tubes of You. Of course, you can go find us on the Loathed TikTok as well, because Courtney is holding us down over there with a lot of very interesting material. So you will never be wanting for any of us. And if you want to find our socials, in the show notes, we've got a link tree. You can find all of our relevant socials, all of our other material. And there is also a large collection of playlists here, so you can go back and peruse some of our past exploits. But I think that is finally going to put the nail in this particular coffin lid for our discussion. But again, thank you all who were at Fan Fusion. We loved seeing you and meeting you there, and we look forward to many similar safe returns as we progress. But I think for Disinformed After Dark this week, I am, in fact, the Black Blur.
Oh no. I am
you are
Greer?
You're Chef Boyardee.
Oh yes, that's
as
true.
of this week's episode. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a poor.
Indeed. We are supposed to zippity and zoopity, but Michael can't compose himself.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Zippity soup, we're out of here.